Okay, we'll be starting just here in a few minutes. I'll be giving a presentation on blending technologies and feedback for EFL writers, and it's scheduled to begin in about 9 minutes. We'll be using the Twitter hashtag TESOL, T-E-S-O-L. So if you want to follow the back channel via Twitter, we'll be using that hashtag. Again, we'll be starting here in about just under 9 minutes. And the topic is blending technologies and feedback for EFL writers. Okay, looks like we'll be getting started here. We are recording live, and we'll be using the hashtag TESOL, T-E-S-O-L, if you want to follow backchannel via Twitter. And we'll be starting here in just a few minutes.
are concerned for the well-being not only of themselves, but for us. If you're interested in learning initiative, listen to the presentation. That is the founder of Teachers for Interactive Language Learning, TILL, and there's the link. Now, I shared, go to the top, you'll be able to copy this chat. You'll see that there's access to the PowerPoint. You can see PowerPoint presentation, which is right here. There's also a link to the current course, the Moodle MOOC, and also to the syllabus, and there's a link to teacher's site, and then Benjamin's claim. If you want to get a badge, I've added the code to claim your badge. So anyone at session can click on that and claim their badge. Actually, you can do it right now. And anyone who accesses the recording will be able to get the badge too. And the badge is from Connected Educators through the United States Department of Education. All right, so Ben, I'm going to give you the mic. I'm really excited about this session. So.
Okay, hello, Nellie. Thank you very much. Hopefully my audio is coming through. If you can just give me a thumbs up just to make sure that the audio is in fact coming through. Excellent. I was having some problems getting in actually, so I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that I won't have issues with technology. But I want to thank everyone for being here. And again, very happy to be here to share some technologies and things that I'm working through this semester. And the topic that I'd like to share with you today, blending technologies and feedback for English as a foreign language writers, is really meant to provoke some ideas, not necessarily me dictating or prescribing certain ways to use technology, but simply a kind of a show and tell, if you will, just an opportunity, I think, to hear from you as far as what technologies you're using, and as I share some of my thoughts with you over the next 40 minutes or so. I'm going to try my best to use some time at the end for questions, but what I'd like to share with you today is some of the technologies that I'm using in 3 classes that I'm currently teaching here at the university. I teach at La Universidad Autónoma de Aguascalientes, which is a public university in beautiful Aguascalientes, Mexico. And I've been teaching here for about 8 years, and I teach a program for students who are studying to be teachers. We have an English as a foreign language training program, and it's a 4-year degree with an optional 1-year propedeutic, which is basically an entry-level year for those students who do not have a minimum English requirement to begin the first semester. So depending on the level of the student when they enter the university, our degree program can last anywhere from 4 to 5 years. So I'd like to talk today with you about 3 different courses that I'm teaching. And before I do that, I would like to share just one slide. I don't have a lot of slides here, and that was intentional because I'd rather have time to questions and kind of interact with you and share some of the technologies that I'm using this semester. But these are the 3 classes that I'm teaching this semester. I'm teaching a first semester writing 1 class, which is actually the image to your right in the middle. I'm sorry, bottom left, sorry. I'm also teaching a creative writing course, which is the image in the middle towards the right, going out of order here. And I'm also teaching a course in applied linguistics, with the image on the top left-hand corner of your screen, with my thumb blocking the bottom left-hand corner. These are the groups that I'm working with this semester, and these are the groups that I'll be talking about. Now, the first slide I want to show before I do a screen share and show some of the technologies is this image that I designed for a talk just a week or so ago. And really the basis of my talk today, even though I'm talking about blending technologies and feedback, it's basically this idea of sharing. And I think one of the reasons why I like to try to incorporate certain technologies in with my students is that because they're going to be future teachers themselves, I am stressing the importance of them being able to share their experiences, share their difficulties that they're having in classes and their successes with not only themselves within the class, but also other students outside of their class. And some of the technologies and experiences that I'm trying to design for my students, I hope will enable them to come in contact with other students as well. So one of the basis for me that I feel that I want to try to incorporate as many technologies as possible and have my students interact as much as possible with this idea of sharing. And a precursor to that is the simple notion that before you can even share, you have to care. And you have to not only care about yourself, but also care about those that you come in contact with. So a lot of what we do in our classes is really about trying to build a learning community within the class where students can rely on each other and help each other. And they care about not only their own successes, but the successes of their classmates. And if they have this quality that they do care about not only themselves but others, they also are willing to take risks. They're willing to dare. They're really willing to confront successes and challenges and learn from those. So that they are, it's very important, and I work a lot with my students with the technologies that we use, that they feel comfortable taking risks, and that it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay if things don't quite work out the way that they had planned. This is all part of the learning process. So I wanted to start my presentation with these three ideas of caring, daring, and sharing that really is part of my whole talk, and I think it's very important to have these qualities, that these students learn to accept and develop these qualities as they continue using technologies to continue their own learning. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do a screen share now, and I'm going to start talking about the first class, Writing 1. This is the first semester. So I'm going to go ahead and activate screen sharing, and hopefully this will work out okay. And maybe Nellie, if you want to jump in anytime if there's some problems or issues as far as seeing what I'm looking at. And let me see here.
See things. Your voice. Audience voice. It's echoing. I just don't have you. My mic.
So I'm trying to activate my screen share. So I hope that this will work. I ran tests all week to make sure everything was in working order on this computer. So let's see if this works. Okay, so if you could just let me know, Nellie, if you see my screen. I have my Canvas learning management system up, and I'm looking at Writing 1. So hopefully you can see this. So I don't know, Nellie, if you could just let me know. I hate to continue on if no one can see it. Okay, so I just looked back at the chat. Looks like you can't see it, so I'll continue. This is Writing 1, and I'm using Canvas, which is a learning management system this semester. And I try to incorporate basically what we do face-to-face, because all my classes that I'm going to talk about today are face-to-face classes. But I try to complement or create an online space with content that is directly related to what we do face-to-face. So it basically serves as a complement to the activities and the content that we discuss and interact with face-to-face. So this first class, Writing 1, I'm going to show you of the technology I'm using, explain some of the ways of providing feedback for for the writers in my first semester class. Again, this is their first semester, and this is the first semester of the propedeutic program, the first year that they come into the program. So they're going to have a total paper-based score of roughly 360 to 440, more or less. That's, I would say, an A1, maybe between A1 A2 level. So this is the content that we have divided up into weeks. And the first thing I'd like to show you is a Charlie Chaplin movie that was beginning. This was the first week. The students were just getting used to the university itself. I mean, this was all a new experience for them. I got them signed up to Canvas. We worked through it together as far as creating accounts, and they were able to access this movie through Canvas. And this is one of the first activities that we did in class. And it's probably not right now. I think my internet is slow. But basically, we watched the Charlie Chaplin movie in class, and the students were asked to identify certain nouns and verbs. So it was very much kind of I would play a few minutes and pause it and we would have a dialogue or discussion about what was going on in the movie. And Charlie Chaplin movies are really nice, as you know, because there's not a lot of dialogue. It's more just action, and there'll be some music in the background. So you can listen to the music, and it's a funny movie, so it's fairly entertaining, I think, for some of them, for most students. But they're able to, we can have a discussion identifying certain nouns in the movie, and it really doesn't take watching much of the movie to generate a lot of new vocabulary words, which is essentially the goal of this, is for them to start writing down new words, new phrases, new verbs that they come across with based on what they see in the movie. And obviously any movie would do, but I particularly like Charlie Chaplin movies because they are entertaining, and the students, we can use this as a way for students to generate new vocabulary. Now, moving on, I'm going to go back. And one of the first assignments was to draft a paragraph. So again, this is first level English language learner, practicing writing skills. And so we're really focusing on both just the sentence level structure and paragraph structure. And so one of our first assignments was to construct a paragraph. And one thing I tried to do here is to bring in some YouTube videos on descriptive writing for them to look at and to view, trying to give them as much input as possible. We don't spend a lot of time in class watching all these videos, but the expectation is that they try to watch some of these videos outside of class, kind of a flipped classroom approach, where a lot of the content is expected, that they're expected to interact with this some outside of the class. So what I've tried to do here in this first assignment is to present this video with links and give them specific outcomes they are to achieve for this first assignment. So at the bottom also I have included a tutorial, and throughout Canvas what I've tried to do is sprinkle in videos that I create to help them navigate through Canvas, through the technology. So I think that new technology is going to be difficult, whether it's creating an account or linking something into Canvas, creating a hyperlink. If I think if it could be difficult for the students, I'll try to insert a video and make that available within Canvas so that they can seamlessly kind of work their way through, navigate through what they're expected to do in this learning management system. created a video on YouTube where I explain how to create Google Doc and link that doc into Canvas. So now we're using Canvas as a learning management system, and we're in Google Docs, which I'll show you here in a few minutes how we're working with that. But again, it's just trying to find the best way to integrate some of these technologies in a way that allows me to be more accessible to the students, and it also allows me to provide better, more timely feedback so that they can get the most out of their learning experience. So here what I created is videos, some descriptors to accomplish this task. At the bottom is paragraph writing rubric. Paragraph rubric that I'm sharing with them from the very beginning, and you'll notice how I have parentheses first draft. So all of the writing assignments, the products, primarily paragraphs that they have to write for this semester, they are always given 1 week to modify their first draft. So the expectation is that they are to create their first draft, then I provide feedback, and then change their work for the final draft. So this is kind of the process we go through for each product that students are expected to accomplish. The rubric, this is the final paper. This is not the final product. It's the first draft of this writing rubric from the beginning, and this is something that we talk about at length in class, so they are clear on the expectations of as to what they need to do as far as completing the first paragraph. Now, the rubric, I'm going to explain a little bit about how I go about converting the rubric to a grade. And so I think one way that I've seen some teachers do it is simply just assign points for each area and then divide up the points and generate a grade that way. But there's a really good book by Arthur and McTighe that came out in 2001 called Scoring Rubrics in the Classroom. And this book is really good. They talk at length about how to approach rubrics and precisely how to come up with a grading logic, that is, how to convert these points, the point system, to an actual percentage grade. And they mention that they don't use strict percentages when translating rubric scores to letter grades. They say that while a percentage model could work just fine for tests and quizzes, they are misleading when converting from rubrics to scores. So their preferred method is to use a grading logic. And I'm going to show you an example of the grading logic that I would use to convert this rubric based on the point system to a grade. Now, I'm actually entering now into a class, but this is the same regardless of the class, regardless of the rubric. If it's a 6-point rubric, this is the logic that I follow. Now, hope you can see this. There are 2 sections here, and the grading logic I present first as kind of percentages, and then I present the same thing, I think a little bit easier to understand by counting numbers. So, for example, the first bullet point here says nothing lower than a 2, at least 3 4s is a 90 to 100%. If we go back here, what I'm referring to here is this would be a 4 on the left-hand side, then we have 3, 2, 1. So using these descriptors, if the students had, in this case, at least 4s and no lower than a 2, then they would receive somewhere between a 90 and 100%. So again, I'm not just calculating and running an average of the points. I'm actually just counting how many 4s that they have, how many 3s, and so on, to determine the grade. If you look at the next grading logic, it says no more than 2 scores lower than a 3 and at least 1 4. That would fall somewhere between 80 and 89%. And so on. This next one, no more than 1 1, 2 3s would be somewhere between 70 to 79%. So this this is one way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. The idea is to come up with some sort of logical conversion so that it makes the grading fair, and it makes it, I think, more accurate to what they need to accomplish. And this also allows for, if they basically have to do well in all the criterion really to get a good grade. If they had all fours except one with one criteria, which would be a 1, then it would considerably lower their grade. So anyway, this is kind of one example here, and again, I would recommend the book Scoring Rubrics in the Classroom by Arter and Guy. And there's certainly other books, but this is one that I'm familiar with, and explains the grading logic in depth, how to really manage rubrics. Okay, so going back here, I want to talk just a couple more things here. I'll try to pause for some questions. We use, in addition to Canvas, I've mentioned now certain YouTube videos that I included in Chaplin movie in this case to bring into the learning experience once you practice the writing skills. Another thing that we also use is Google Drive, Google Docs. And so I'm going to show you an example. In fact, back to the assignment and show you the list that the students had to create. So this very first assignment, the students actually create this and create a list as it appears here in this page. Now in Canvas, actually this page serves as a wiki because all of the students, when they sign in with their account, they can actually edit this page and they can add text and just as we've done here. So I'm going to look at one of the students here as an example. And this is Google Drive, and used to be Google Docs, I guess. Now it's Google Drive. And this is just one example here how we use Google Drive. I think Google Drive is a really good document for writers and for helping writers. It offers a lot of ways for interaction, giving feedback. I'm going to explain how this. This is an example of one student, and this semester we've written 2 here. Rubric score achieved for this paragraph. Now, my first paragraph, first paragraph at the bottom, but I assigned points to them, even though it wasn't fun, because I wanted them to see what the notation from the very beginning. So I had a poor first draft. I wanted that to be reflected in the point system in the rubric from the very beginning, so that they have a full week to figure out how to fix it and how to improve. I didn't want any surprises for their final draft and they get their score and it's not what they had expected. So my logic, my reason is to provide a score at from the very beginning with the idea that when they go back and make the changes, that could improve their score. And really what I'm looking for more than their first draft approach is really how much they improve or how many changes they can actually make from the first draft to the second draft. So that's what I'm really looking at. And you can see here an example of the second paragraph where I have included my feedback. Now you'll notice the comments that I'm using an error code system. And the error code system that I'm using, we'll show you here. I came when I was coming up with this this error code system. I was emailing I was sending out to all of my personal learning network, asking questions, sharing the document that I had, and I received a lot of good input from what others were doing. It's kind of a mixture of things that I came across in my readings as well as my interactions with my personal learning network to kind of come up with an error code system that would work best. So this I'll show you briefly the error code system that I'm using. And obviously, if anyone really wants a copy of this, then contact me. But this is what I'm using right now. And not a lot of codes on here, but and down into two sections. One, which is code, just regular code for individual errors that the and then at the bottom I have what I call discourse codes, and these are more at the discourse level. So if the students have problems with paragraph development, I might use one of these four at the bottom, either MIL or UN for unity, CR for coherence, or CN for cohesion. So I would use these for discourse. The ones up above would be just more for isolated errors. So this is what I'm using now. This is like a lot of errors, but honestly, I would say most of the errors between 6 and 7, as far as the total number of errors that the students typically make, they run around 7 or 8, I guess. So there's not a lot of variety in the types of errors that they make. There are some that happen quite a bit. I think the 3 most common types of errors that I come across are run-on sentences, devices, and sentence fragments. And so I'm not sure what your experiences are. I'm teaching, and this is really at all levels. These are the 3 that I tend to focus on the most, simply because they are kind of common. So this is the error code system that I'm using. So all the students have a printed copy of this, and they keep this with them and start to become familiar quickly with the types of errors that they tend to commit through their writing. So this is how I typically give feedback. So in most cases, I don't offer a long explanation to the errors. I just put the abbreviation, and then I want them to kind of search and see if they can figure out how to fix it. Now, a lot of times it's obvious, but sometimes it's not. So we will invariably in class discuss these errors as a group. We'll talk about certain patterns that I've seen as far as errors that the group is committing. So, even though that this work is done outside of class, I'm feedback outside of class. It's very much part of our discourse in class as far as what we need to focus on as a group. The students know that if they don't know how to fix something, they can either send me an email or comment directly in this document. So the idea is that they kind of go through and detect some of these errors or find the errors themselves and try to correct them themselves as much as possible. Now, if you're familiar with Google Docs, there is a revision. So you can see here changes are being made, and quite a bit. Even though in this case there are only 2 assignments, the students go in. A lot of it's provided feedback, and then they quickly make changes, and we go back and forth between their changes and feedback, and sometimes then we'll go through 2 or 3. I provide feedback, they make changes. I provide feedback, they make changes, and it really just depends on how much the student really wants to work, because here the technology allows me or affords me the opportunity to provide more feedback, more in a more timely fashion, much more so than if I hadn't used any technology at all. If I was just grading papers, I certainly would not be able to give the amount of feedback that I give as I do using these technologies. And so I think that this particular tool, Google Drive, has really been a good way for me and the students to work together and resolve some of the errors that they are faced with. So, okay. So one more thing opportunity to share with the group. And I'm going to go back to modules. And so we talked about Google Drive, talked about YouTube videos, Canvas, we talked about error code list that actually is a public document in Google Drive, and rubrics as well. Last bit of technology I'd like to share with you today in this class is just recently, and it was a storytelling activity. This is a writing class, and what I was trying to achieve with this particular assignment was that I wanted my students to write something and then read aloud their writing. So we work a lot with I try to have my students read aloud their writing so that they can kind of listen to their own writing and just see how it sounds. And a lot of times when students are writing really long sentences and they get really too, sometimes when they read it, they're able to do that, because if they can't express a sentence without taking a grasp of air, typically they will realize, well, maybe I need to change something if the sentence is going on and on and on and on. So, with this particular assignment, I wanted to focus on storytelling, so I wanted them to look at an image, create a story, a very brief story, basically one paragraph, where they create a story on their own and then read the story aloud. So the technology that I used for this assignment was VoiceThread, and so I brought in VoiceThread into Canvas, into this assignment. I showed tutorials how to create a voice or video to VoiceThread, and then VoiceThread itself is that the actual assignment. Go ahead and open up VoiceThread. Again, the idea that I'm trying to achieve here with Canvas is to incorporate as many videos as possible to try to help the students navigate a lot of this through all of this themselves. And because they are language learners and they are at a basic level, this also, I think, gives them input so that they are becoming more accustomed to listening to not only my voice, but other accents, other variations, varieties of English that they might otherwise come in contact with. So, the idea is to really bring in as much input as possible and variety so that they are familiar with that, since they are going to be become English language teachers. So hopefully this page will open up. It's a little bit slow right now. If not, we can view it in maybe here. I created an audio myself to give instruction. Said to the instructor, given several images. I hope you can see these images. I want to bring this up that the students were asked to look at a story. I gave you 3 or 4 images for able to choose. So for image, they could do a story around that image. But the idea was to create a story based on the image. So they could choose the perspective. For example, they could choose the older man pointing out to sea, or the out story from his perspective. Also, if they talk about the children's perspective, if they want. The idea was that we were to use a lot of nouns and to a lot of descriptive speech or descriptive language in really bring the story to life as much as possible. So you see a lot of the students like this. And if I play one of these, if you can even hear it, I'll just play a second. Maybe. It's gonna look up here, but it's funny because I gave them the option. I wanted to face they could just upload an audio and create them to a video, so that we could see their faces. A lot of them did with the video. They didn't step in front of the camera. So they actually did an audio, but they did a video just showing their faces. So most of them didn't want to show their face, which is fine. But the idea was to give them choices, right? So they could choose which image. They could choose really the story itself, and whether or not they wanted to show their face or not on this particular assignment. But I did want them to create an audio or video, basically just reading the text, but really bringing their text to life, and hopefully giving them kind of respect to their own writing. So whenever they do write, they see that the words they write, they mean something that that again they have significance, and in this case can be used to tell a compelling story. So this is the last bit of technology that I'll talk for this particular class. I know it's perhaps a lot here to pretty quick through this, but I'm going to pause now. I'm going to go back to the with the queue. I'm going to stop my screen and would like to take some questions. If anyone has anything they'd want to add or comment or question about, I don't know if we can do mics or you'd like just to ask a question in the chat. Sorry, Nelly, could you repeat that question? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat the question? I don't have a headset, but I can mute my mic. Okay. I see.
Where are comments? I don't have the chat box.
Okay, Heather has a question here. Do I use technology to support peer editing and peer evaluation? I do in other classes that I haven't talked about yet. In this particular class, though, most of the peer and self-editing happen in class. In fact, virtually all of what we do in face-to-face is with regard to peer and self-correction is done face-to-face, because since they are new students to the university, I'm trying to have them know each other or get to know each other, since most of them don't, or this is the first time they've had a class together. And so what I'm trying to do is have them begin this first semester working together a lot. I do correct in class, but not a lot. Most of my correction comes after they have self-corrected and after they have corrected with their peers. One thing I haven't mentioned is after the third or fourth week of class, I pair up my groups. So I group my stronger students with the weaker students, and basically assign them as a permanent partner. Every day they are to work with their partner. So a lot of times students will ask me questions, and I'll respond by asking, well, have you asked your partner? Because I really want them to work it out first to see if they can work it out and come to an understanding before they ask me. So that's been kind of the approach that I've taken with this particular class. And in general, I try to do that with my other groups as well. I again try to have them help each other. And sometimes when it's been my experience that when students correct each other online, we get into issues of etiquette and the way in which we express and help each other, and that's a whole other discussion, especially when you're language learners. Sometimes if the language is not just right, there could be a poor interpretation, and so I'm not against it. I think it's certainly an option, but for me right now, I tend to try to handle self-direction face-to-face, and and then take care of usually address the feedback myself outside of class. There are some exceptions, though. Thank you, Heather, for the question. Any other questions? Yeah, okay, so Nellie, you're asking why not share the Google Drive doc with the whole class? And there are, yeah, I mean, we could do that. I mean, I could do some writing assignments where the whole group contribute to a Google Drive document. I haven't done that as of yet. As far as I have a semester with applied linguistics, but I haven't really. Oh, that's not what you mean. Okay. So, could you elaborate on the question?
What I mean work well is that I have them do the work. In other words, they share their document with one another. I don't throw all the emails. They do it, and then when I'm correcting or commenting whatever on their work, everybody sees it. So that you don't have to. They all see, oh, they did this. So they learn from each other, mistakes, and then. The next step would be that they would do it reviewing once they see you're doing it. So they see exactly how you're marking it, and they're noticing their own mistakes. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I would share. They would share all their writing assignments and other. Each one of them. So if I've got 40 students, and I've got a class of 39, all 39 assignments are shared on Google Drive. They do it. They just add one another.
Yeah, and Nellie, in fact, that's exactly what I do. The list that you saw in Canvas is a list of all my students, and each one of them created their own Google Drive document. Or they basically created their own Google Drive, and so they created a document in their own Google Drive, and all of the students have access to see all of their other students' work. In fact, that's one of the things that I encourage all my students to do: see not only their own work, but I ask them, have you seen the work of your classmates? Have you seen how I am giving feedback to the rest of the group? So my feedback that I'm giving is transparent as far as the entire group can see how I give feedback. And so each student has their own document. I don't create them. I show them how to do it, but I don't create. So they share they share the link. Now there are two types of sharing, right? You can share the link so others can just view it, or you can share the document where others can go in and make edits. And so what I was referring to earlier was that all of them share their documents, and that the link that I showed in Canvas just allows anyone can see it. In fact, anyone can go into Canvas and view all of this information and all the information from my students. So it's all open, and students can see all of the work of their classmates. What I have not done is have my students share their documents so others can edit each other's documents, and that's certainly another option, but I haven't done it yet. So, any other questions? In fact, we're getting fairly close to running out of time. We're not going to have time to see a lot of other examples, but I don't know if anyone has any other questions before I comment on a few more things. I don't, probably not going to have time to show you this, but I do want to mention the class that I have in creative writing. I have an academic and creative writing course, which is a third semester course, and we are also using blogs. And this particular group All of my students are uploading all of the projects that they do in their own personal blog, and I am having them interact, comment on each other's blog. So the projects that they have to create are essays. So far, they've had to create business types of correspondence, like business formal emails, purpose statements, resumes. They created a resume in LinkedIn and create a public resume so that they can show potential employers in the future. So in that particular class, we're also using Google Drive, but we're also bringing in blogs, and in this case, LinkedIn, so that they can begin thinking about putting together a portfolio, a professional portfolio, and a resume that they can work on throughout their not only college days or college career, but also beyond when they get into the field, and they constantly keep their resume up to date. So those are some other technologies that I'm using for that particular group, and so far they've been responding quite well. They've been really original. If you are interested in seeing some of this work, let me include a link into the chat box where you can find all the classes that I teach. They're open, they're online. You don't need to create an account to see what I'm doing. I'm going to copy and paste this link. Maybe it's a bit slow. Okay, so I included the link here in the chat box, and this is a website where you can see all of the courses that I offer online, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions or would like further explanation of something that I'm currently doing. But that pretty much concludes what I'm probably going to have time to talk about. If someone has any questions or any additional comments that they'd like to make about either what I've presented, or if you just simply want to share some of the technologies that have been working well for you and your experiences. And I didn't ask this at the beginning. I guess I should have. For those of you in the chat room, how many of you are teaching and are teaching English language learners or language learners in general? And how many of you are focusing on writing? If you are focusing on the writing skill? Okay. So yeah, if anyone wants to leave their Twitter hashtag or their Twitter handle in the chat room, feel free to. If you want to share one of the websites that you are affiliated with, feel free to include that in the chat as well. I want to thank everybody for being here, and certainly am open to talking more about this if anyone is interested. And my Twitter hashtags included there in the chat. Twitter would be the easiest. My handle is BNLEEZ. You contact me via Twitter, and we can do anything. Be more than happy to do so. So thanks, everybody. Thank you very much, Nellie. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak.
There's a Benjamin Stewart. Blended learning. Blended learning. I got all of you. I just wrote down Benjamin Stewart. So the L helped. Benjamin fight the other guy. I don't know what he does, but he's pretty popular. And what else? I was thinking about me. I was question for that about me. Must have.
Yes, I just included that in the chat box there.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. Oh, Andre. Look what he found. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. That's not the one. It's on. It moves from there, but I think there's information there too. Benjamin, have you considered joining the IWE with your students, or it's not part of the plan?
Certainly, I'm interested in knowing. Yeah, I'm certainly interested in knowing more about it. I know you have been involved in that. I just can't seem. I don't know who to contact. I guess I just haven't really found a way to get started, to know enough about it, to see how the students match up. So maybe we can talk about that offline, and we can, do something. Do something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's college students from Korea, China, and Iran is trying to get in. But we've got quite a few countries. All right, so thank you very much, Benjamin, and everyone for joining us. And this is being recorded. It will be downloaded to YouTube. You'll have a chance to see it. Not anybody's name, just audio. Benjamin's webcam. Hope that's okay, Benjamin. Thank you, everyone. Badges will be available. Bye.
Okay, that will conclude this live broadcast. This, again, was a presentation of WinsIQ, and will also be uploaded to YouTube. And if anyone wants to contact me, feel free to leave a comment below. If you'd like to know more about the classes that I'm teaching face-to-face, or any of the technologies that I'm currently using with my students, feel free to send me an email or leave a comment in the text box below. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.